There are several moments which I can consider key. One is particularly touching in a way, and is when I decided to take some days off and go to the Kennedy Space Center and watching STS-135, the last shuttle flight, July 2011. Was the end of an era, was also the clear demonstration of the ability of human minds. Since the beginning of, let's say, history of the office, we have been conducting more than 400 capacity building activities, in particular focusing on developing and emerging countries. And we have been able to bring, to allow them to attend more than 24,000 people. At the same time, we started to think how we can really have more and more countries at the table of space, how they can access space, how we can do capacity building more in line with the needs of the 21st century. And that's the reason why last year we launched another initiative, extremely important, which is called Access to Space for All. Is focusing on everyone in the world, but in particular on emerging and developing countries. And the idea is to offer, free of charge, possibilities of launching their own satellites. In this manner, for example, through an agreement with JAXA, which is the Japanese Space Exploration Agency, we have been able to allow Kenya to launch its first satellite ever. But notice, and extremely important, we obliged, quote and unquote, them to register the satellite, which means that they had to create a national space agency and a national space law in order to be able then to register the satellite and show since the beginning a responsible behavior. I believe that accessing space is key for all the main countries, for sure, but it's even more key for developing and emerging countries, because the gap to be covered in terms of benefits from space is huge for developing and emerging countries. And then having new players entering the scene, it also helps them if they get to know how to develop hardware, how to launch hardware in space, how space technologies can really benefit their own countries, then they get and they acquire technologies and skills in order also to be, let's say, a better partner. Because I do believe that you cannot have a good cooperation if the two partners are really not balanced. I mean, for sure, an emerging or a developing country can never reach the level of, I don't know, the United States or Russian Federation, the biggest countries. But at the same time, if they develop a bit of abilities and skills and technologies their own, then they can better find a way of coordinating and cooperating with the spacefaring nations. So it's what I call autonomy for cooperation. It's absolutely indispensable, I would say mandatory, in order to have a healthy ecosystem. I don't believe, to be very honest with you, that there is a real space race. It's more the fact that most of the countries finally understood that space is the place to be in order to better develop conditions on Earth. I believe that, as I said before, Singapore can play an important role. And so I committed to help Singapore also to speed up the process and becoming soon not only a member of the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, not only a partner of the Office for Outer Space Affairs, but the main player in the field of space affairs. And I do believe that the country has the abilities to do so already now. It's interesting because there are also other countries who are potentially thinking about that. It's a question of speed, political commitment, and abilities to really develop a proper industrial base. It's also linked to the willingness of the country of engaging with us and eventually organizing activities in the region and trying to attract the others on solid basis. So in principle, you have all the characteristics to do so. And then it's not up to me to decide who is the leader in the region, but what I see is that for sure you have skills and abilities to be a very top-level player. The first humans on the moon has been really a milestone in the history of humanity. Is the definition of progress, is the expression of what we as human beings can do when we work for the best, really having in mind a very good goal, which is to progress, right? So I believe the space is by definition innovation, is by definition thinking out of the box, is by definition working with others, is by definition trying to go beyond the limits of the Earth, again, working together. But, you know, in a way, space is a continuation of planet Earth. Planet Earth is one of the planets in our solar system. And if we look at that from this standpoint, we belong to the solar system, not only to planet Earth. In reality, it gives you the possibility to look at the nitty-gritty things every day with a different perspective and trying to really look at the future and try to always see the positive side of things. And that's the reason why I believe that the peaceful uses of outer space is not only a motto, is not only a statement of what we have to do, is what we have to do all together in order to preserve the future of our humanity.